Hi folks, Paul Jennings here, and today I'm your host on The Piping Show, and I'm delighted to say that my guest, all the way from the United States, is Ali the Piper. I met Ali the Piper many years ago at the Loon Mountain Highland Games, and since then she's gone on to become a TikTok and Instagram sensation with her incredible and entertaining videos featuring the bagpipes and a plethora of other instruments, costumes and themes. Ali the Piper, I would say, is taking the reach of the bagpipes to a whole new audience. So it was great to get a chat with her remotely via Zoom. So I hope you enjoy that later in the show. First of all, before we do anything else, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once again, it really does help us expand our reach, so we thank you for doing that. I hope you enjoy my chat with Ali the Piper later in the show, but of course, it's now time to go to Helen Urquhart for this week's news.
The Competition League for Amateur Solo Pipers announced the results for their latest contest last Thursday. The winners were, in Grade 1, Charles David Mitchell, Grade 2, Hans Grothusen, Grade 3, John Todd, and in Grade 4, Sheila Stewart. Congratulations to all the winners, and thank you very much to everybody who's entered any of the clasp events this year. The next event takes place on Saturday the 14th of January in Otago Street, and entries are open until the 2nd. So if you're an amateur piper and would like to take part, head over to theclasp.co.uk to find out more. On Saturday the 10th of December, Jenny Mayer Square Day took place in Palmerston North, New Zealand. The overall winners of the Grade 1 Pipe Band contest were Manawatu Scottish. The opening hours at the National Piping Centre will change over the festive period. There will be no teaching available from Monday the 19th of December through to Tuesday the 3rd of January. All lessons will resume on Wednesday the 4th. The bagpipe shop will be open until 5 p.m. on the 23rd of December for click and collect and in-person orders only. Due to the Royal Mail strikes, last orders are this evening. If you would like to come in during the festive period, the shop will be open at McPhater Street only on from the 28th to the 30th of December. We will reopen again as usual from Wednesday the 4th of January.
Hello there. In keeping with our recent theme talking about John Van Mackenzie, I went into our museum and pulled out an exhibit, which is Donald Cameron's Bible. To speak a little bit about Donald Cameron was born in 1810 in Strathpeffer and went on to be a very successful piper and competitor. He was taught by Donald Moore McLennan of Moy, as well as Angus Mackay and John Van Mackenzie. As I said, Donald Cameron was a hugely successful solo competitor in his day. He won the prize pipe at Inverness in 1843 and in Edinburgh in 1844. He would also go on to win the gold medal at Inverness in 1849, 1850, and 1859. Additionally, like his teacher John Ban, he did earn the title of King of Pipers when he won the Champion of Champions competition in 1867. He was one of 5 pipers to do this, all of whom were in some way related to John Van Mackenzie. Donald Cameron married Margaret Mackenzie in 1841, who then became Maggie Cameron of the eponymous Strathspey. They would go on to have 3 sons, Colin, Alec, and Keith, all of whom would go on to become prolific players, composers, and teachers in their own right. Donald Cameron was also a prolific teacher himself and taught many famous players from history, perhaps the best known of whom would be Alexander MacDonald, who was the father of John MacDonald of Inverness. Donald was the piper to Keith Stewart Mackenzie of Seaforth at Brayan Castle from 1849 until his death in 1868. Looking at Donald Cameron's Bible, if we open it up, we can see here, it says Donald Cameron, Brayan Castle, and 1864. So this would have been his Bible in the latter years of his life. In addition to the Bible, there is also a newspaper clipping from the Ross-shire Journal from April 14th of 1972, talking a little bit about Donald and his life. If you'd like to see Donald Cameron's Bible, it's on display here in the National Piping Centre in our Bagpipe Museum.
Ali, Piper, Ali, welcome to the Piping Show.
Hello.
It's
Good to be here.
it's really
Bright and early for me.
yeah. What is it? 9 o'clock in New York.
Yes.
And how are you today?
I'm awake. I'm caffeinated. I am doing well. Ready for a good day ahead.
Good. You and I have met before in person a long time
Wow.
ago.
Many moons ago,
I was
as it seems.
I was playing at the what was it again?
The Loon Mountain Highland Games.
The Loon Mountain Highland Games, and I think it was a couple of times I met you there. You and your mum.
Yeah. Back when I was doing all the solos out there, and I'd catch the show after the games.
So and at that time, were you in a pipe band out there doing stuff, or were you doing solo stuff? Or were you kind of just hanging out?
Depends on the year. Depends on the year for sure. There were some years I just went over, did solos. There were some years I was also working with a band out there. So a little bit of both.
Cool.
But definitely competing in some capacity.
Yeah, well, it's nice to see you again after all these years.
Definitely, yeah.
So I was going to start, it's kind of an obvious place to start, but we always like to ask people how their journey into piping began and how you got into it. I'm guessing you were probably quite young. Like, just tell us first of all how the road and the path to piping unfolded for you.
Yeah, I like this story because I think it's nice. I think a lot of kids get started because there's a piper in the family, or because somebody in their world is kind of encouraging them to learn pipes. I was just an obsessive child. I didn't start learning pipes until I was 14, so a little bit older in the grand scheme of things, especially since I started with a youth band.
Right.
But I had started learning instruments and music in general when I was very, very, very young, and was, playing a plethora of instruments by the time I had found the pipes. Bagpipes were my 7th instrument, and at the time I had just been legally adopted by my stepdad, so, went through the court system and everything like that, and I got a hyphenated last name, Crowley Duncan, and his mom kind of introduced me to a little bit of their heritage. They're still American, but they are very in touch with their roots. And I got to see the tartan, the crest, a little bit of background on the ancestry, and I just thought it was very cool, and I wanted to get in touch with it more, and my main form of expression is music, so I was like, what kind of instrument could I play that would get me more in touch with the Scottish roots that I'm now adopted into? And there's only one real true answer when you ask that question.
That is very true, Ali. Yep, 100%.
Yep.
So you played 7 other instruments before that?
Yes.
So you already had a very musical vibe. So, and how? Because the bagpipes, and just speaking for, I'm obviously not a piper here, although I've learned so much since I've started working at the piping centre. I know about it all now.
Can't all be perfect.
But did you find that the bagpipes was completely a wild thing to come to when you had been playing like sort of other instruments that didn't only have 9 notes and crazy hand patterns?
Yeah, so I think my background in music helped me in other ways. I can read music fluently and things like that, and it helped with my musicality and phrasing and that kind of thing. But learning the pipes was nothing like learning just another woodwind. They're a foreign creature, to say the least, to put it plainly. But I loved that challenge more than anything. I had been really seeking that. I started with clarinet in school, and kind of just cycled my way through all of the related woodwinds. And so learning oboe and flute and saxophone were all very familiar.
Wow.
And I needed a real challenge, and I found it. And I love it. And I think having the 9 notes and kind of being stuck in a key and modality is very, very it's fun. It's so fun, especially with the kind of things that I like to do and the music that I like to play, because it presents some really fun challenges and puzzles for the brain to kind of focus in on. And so I quite enjoy that about the pipes, that it's a little bit more locked in.
Yeah, yeah. I actually recently, because now I work here, I have 1 hour of free lesson, I think a week or something, that I could take, and I've only done sort of one. And I always said I'd never play the pipes, but here I was with a chanter, and I was actually, one of the guys in the shop, one of the guys, Jamie, was showing me this scale, and then there was and it was just crazy, all the patterns where you have to put your fingers. To me, as a complete and utter layman here, it is so different, I found, as someone who doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it still follows the same pattern, your fingers go up, the sound goes up, but I mean, it definitely takes some really, really dedicated practice to get the muscle memory down, because I find it's, a little bit less intuitive until you get it, until it's locked in, and then it never goes away.
Yeah.
I love the pipes. They're a very unique beast.
Yeah, they sure are. So, then was there a point where you realized, or you thought, this is actually something I really want to run with and become, not necessarily your whole famous status on social media, but was there a point where you were like, I actually really love this and I want to try and make something of doing this and being a piper?
Yeah, I mean, I fell in love with it nearly immediately. There was a lot of pressure because I did start with a youth band, and I wanted to stick with them for as long as I could and get competing. So I definitely felt the pressure to get my butt into gear and learn as fast as possible, because I didn't want to just take my time and age out.
Nice one.
So I definitely did. I put the fire underneath me. But the band was gearing up to go to the Worlds in 2016, so just 2 years after I started. No, 2012. I was 16. I did it backwards.
Oh, got you.
So in 2012, the band was heading over for novice juvenile to compete in the Worlds.
In Glasgow, right. Here?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
And so, of course. Yeah. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do that. Let me start learning. Let me try to get in the band. But by that time, I had put so much and really used my resources that I was ready to leave the band and move up to a grade 2 band after the Worlds. So we won the Worlds. Yay.
Nice. Well done.
And that was a big moment for me in my piping journey, because it was still pretty new in the grand scheme of things. I'd been playing for 2 years, and then even in novice juvenile, having a world championship under your belt is a really good feeling. And so I really pushed myself in solos and just got my butt moving.
Nice one.
And I went down to a grade 2 band and did that for a couple years. And just, again, the band life was really fun, but solos is where it was at for me.
Really?
I really loved solo competing, yeah.
And do you do much of it anymore, or obviously your focus is, you probably have a lot going on elsewhere?
Yeah. I don't do as much competing anymore, but I do a lot of, I keep everything in my repertoire. Even one of my competition jigs is on my album. So
and this is a new album, isn't it? I think I just saw that you've just released something.
Yeah, it's called The Pipes Are Calling, a classic bagpipe album name, but I released it on November 18th.
Cool. That's great. I feel like that's actually probably that's a great title for people who probably you have brought into the piping world now, because with the reach you have, you're transcending people who all from all walks of life. So an album title like that is probably quite interesting to people like that.
Yeah, I wanted a bit of a draw, and I do have a couple classic covers on there. I did Danny Boy and Auld Lang Syne. Those are my only two core Celtic classics that are on there. And it is not just bagpipes. There's bagpipe on every single track, but it's a vocal piece with wind section and keys and guitar and then pipes.
Cool.
So they're interwoven throughout. There are still 4 instrumental tracks, and like I mentioned, there's a hornpipe set and a jig set with some originals and some like trad stuff that has had a piece throughout my career as well. Like Biddy from Sligo, my favorite jig, is in my jig set. So. And
did you play?
Keep it fun.
Sorry, did you play a lot of instruments on the record apart from the pipes?
Yeah, I'm singing lead vocals and playing 8 instruments.
Wow.
Well, Highland pipes and small pipes, but I count those as 2.
They are. They're
2.
So yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, yeah, I've got my flute, clarinet, sax, a couple different types of whistles, piano. I think that's it. And I also forced myself to learn how to produce it,
Nice.
which was its own beast. I would say there's probably 30 hours worth of recording, but over 100 in mixing and producing. So that was the hardest part, honestly.
Would you say that you're an ambitious person, Ali?
I would call myself obsessive and crazy.
Okay. Yeah. No, it sounds
That's
like
what I would call myself.
Because it's really fascinating to learn this, because I've met you before but we'd never chatted really apart from like side of stage and stuff. So I'm getting this picture that you are very driven, and that's probably, it's certainly added to your success. So at this point I want to ask you, you're probably certainly one of the, you're probably the biggest social media, I don't know what you want to call yourself, but social media personalities in the piping world now. And I remember seeing this sort of happen from a distance, and I was like, wow, that's cool. And you just absolutely nailed it. Like, and everything, from the whole TikTok thing, and then, you really use your platforms in the best way you can. But another obvious question, how the hell did that all unfold? Was it like, whoa, what the hell's happening? And then you sort of saw this opportunity. So yeah, that would be cool to know.
Yeah, it was a weird time. I started doing lockdown live streams on Facebook.
I remember that.
Like immediately when the pandemic hit, because I got furloughed from my retail job, which I never went back to.
Well done.
The best decision ever, getting out of retail, especially in the pandemic. But yeah, so I started doing live streams almost immediately because we went into lockdown, and then it was St. Patrick's Day, and especially over here, I had gigs. Like, I was counting on those. Mm-hmm. That's the one weekend where I get to go out locally and do a bunch of back-to-back kind of things. And so I was a little upset for a lot of reasons. I don't get to, back then I didn't get to play much. I wasn't in a band, I wasn't really competing solos, so it was really just fun parties where I got to play fun music other than your classic, wedding marches and stuff. So I was excited. Everything got canceled. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it anyway, but I'll just do it on Facebook, and if people want to drop a PayPal donation, they can. So people started jumping in, and they started listening, and I was like, you know what? I think people need this, kind of as much as I do. Yeah. Because people were sending me pictures. They would cast their live stream up on their TV and like curl in with their families, and everybody was kind of missing out on live music. And something they also appreciated was kind of the authenticity and very like real side behind it. Because I'd bring my dogs in and we'd chat and I'd answer questions, and it was a lot more than just like a recital. It wasn't formal in any way.
Great.
So I did that for a bit. That didn't take off anywhere, but it's what kind of led me to posting on other social media. So I downloaded TikTok as a fun little pandemic pastime. And then a few months later, in November of 2020, I posted my first video where I just struck up the pipes and I played a really rough version of the Pumpkins Fancy. Don't watch it, but I posted it. And it kind of blew up kind of. It got like 130K, and that was obviously crazy to me, who had like 200 followers. And almost overnight, it just like blew up to almost 10,000 followers, and I was like, these people want bagpipes, so I just started playing all their requests, and that's kind of how it began.
Yeah. I love that. I love it when it's like it just happened. You weren't intending on it. It was, yeah.
No, but I definitely saw the need for it. I mean, at that time there were really not many other bagpipers on the internet as a whole.
Yeah.
At least, you know, there are bagpipers on the internet, but not trying to like make something out of it. And then especially on TikTok, you know, there were a few creators and some who I've become friends with, and they were doing their thing, but there wasn't really a TikTok has its own little communities within the app.
Yeah.
And there was no bagpipe TikTok. You know, there wasn't like there's still no Highland dance TikTok, so if anybody out there wants to just get on that, that'd be great. But, you know, there wasn't a little niche yet, and I was like, let's make a niche.
So
let's do it. Let's make a TikTok niche.
Bagpipe TikTok. Is that the hashtag? What would it be?
Bagpipe talk.
Bagpipe talk.
Bagpipes. Yeah, so, like, there are a lot of them. I don't really focus too much on like the hashtagging. I probably should more. I just throw like whatever I'm thinking.
I don't really think you need to at this stage, Ali.
I think some people would maybe disagree. I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just here to have fun.
Good.
So that's what we're doing. But yeah, that's how it began, and it turned into a wild beast after that.
Wow.
Because all I did was just take people's requests, and obviously people requested all the classics, and I got them out of the way. And then people started asking for fun stuff, and I didn't want to do it in a cheesy way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, you know what, how would I like to hear this? How would I like to see this produced if I were just me sitting back listening to music? And when people were asking for stuff like, you know, I can't even think. I have so much content, I can't even think of what I've done.
Like, like movie themes and stuff like that?
Yeah, and I was like, well, you know, I always throw the classic answer out. I'm like, oh no, I can't play the Braveheart theme on the Highland bagpipe. I'm so sorry.
Right.
I can't do it. Actually, you can. So that's fun. Just kind of like breaking outside of the mold of what the Highland bagpipe is, you're trained to believe it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I always played, you know, the C and F naturals as like fun little add-ins to pipe music, but if you play them as your scale, it completely changes the modality and the key of the instrument, and you can play the Braveheart theme. So
like with the same notes.
Yeah, I don't have to make any changes to the instrument, but instead of playing C, okay, to do it.
Show us.
Get my chanting here. Instead of playing C, you can play your C natural, which is, it works on some bagpipes and some chanters. You gotta have the right setup. And instead of playing F natural, you can play a lot more stuff than I ever thought was possible. So I do that a lot. I incorporate that a lot in recording, and it's what has led to some of my most viral videos, and has led to some of my most, you know, like personally accomplished things. I think it's great that I could play Highland pipes in the Braveheart theme because they needed to be there.
They did. We did it dirty. It's I mean it's like
it's a crime.
It's so funny. I'm not a piper, but and I actually really like Braveheart, the movie. I think it's great, but every time I hear that Ulan pipes in it, I'm like, nah. It's nae right, you know, it's nae right. So well done, Ali, and thank you for saving our, you know, thank you for saving Braveheart in the end.
The Ulan pipes are beautiful.
They are.
I love them to death. There also are not enough crossovers between the Highland pipes and the Ulan pipes, and it's like, oh, they don't, you know, in their base form exist in the same key, but if you're dedicated and creative enough, some really awesome stuff could be done. So I'm working on that too. I don't play the Ulan pipes, but I know a lot of people who do. So
it's a different beast as well, isn't it? As a layman here again. Yeah.
Yeah, completely different. I'm comfortable in the Highland pipes realm, personally, but yeah, that's another completely different thing. But things like Braveheart and other films like that, where you're hearing bagpipes, it just, people have a complete, you know, the layman, the people who don't know anything about the community, they've got no idea, and they think that's, oh, it's just a bagpipe. So it kind of does the instrument an injustice as well.
Who are some of your favorite pipers in the world?
So the year that I started was the year that Faye Henderson won the gold medal, and I was 14, she was 18, and she's a young woman, and I was like, oh my god, okay, fine. So I named my dog Faye. I told her that on a podcast once, and I immediately, I was like, oh, eat your words back. Can't believe I said that.
Fangirl moment.
Yeah, I'm the worst about that. I'm everyone's biggest fan, so.
Good.
But yeah, I absolutely have always been a Faye Henderson stan. So that's one thing. But then there are a lot of other people. Nancy Tunnicliffe was, there are a lot of women, just be prepared for that. But she was, she's one of my, she's one of my former judges. And over here in the eastern U.S., but she was also the first person to play bagpipes in an orchestra setting.
Wow.
I interviewed her and did a research paper on it for my degree. But it was, kind of some niche things in the piping community out there. So yeah, Nancy is a great person, a great piper, and has done some really cool things for the community. I love all your classic people out there. I got to go to Invermark every year over here in the States, and I got to work with Jack Lee and Willie McCallum. Oh, yeah. And so I have a deep respect for them on a personal and professional level as well. So I can't really nail it down to one person.
Yeah, Willie, he teaches here. He's always floating about.
Yeah, I've been over to the
Lovely
piping
guy.
center. I went over when I went for solo competition in 2014 over in Glasgow, and I went to the piping center and worked with Willie a bit. I was having some bagpipe issues. My Robertsons, they cracked, so I had to get creative.
Oh no.
It's okay.
Well,
they're fine now.
You're obviously welcome here anytime at the temple. I always call it the temple because it's like, that's just my thing. Finley said someone called it the Grace Note Factory or something cheesy like that. Anyway.
Honestly though, I like it. I like it. I support it.
Well, Ali, lastly, what's around the corner? I'm full of the obvious questions, but what's around the corner for you this coming year, etc.?
This year, I want it to be the year of collaboration and just creating music. I have decided that 2023 is going to be a big year for me, kind of really developing my sound as a solo artist. There might be a tour happening. It will be in the States. I can't give any more information.
Okay.
But that's all you get.
Bit of a secret at the moment.
A secret tour with maybe another very awesome musician who I maybe work with. That's all I'm going to say. But
John
I'm
Mayer.
very excited. Not John Mayer, unfortunately. But yeah, so trying to get out there and see people outside of my little internet box. And just creating as much music as I possibly can, and really trying to expand the instrument. I want to do some work with a harpist. I want to do some work with an uilleann piper, and kind of continue to cross genre and see what the bagpipes can do.
Well, that's so great. You're doing as someone who now works within the realm of it. I mean, I always have, played with pipers and stuff as a drummer, but it really seems like you're pushing things forward and you're bringing new people into the world of piping. So really well done for that. And And thank you for coming on the Piping Show, Ali. It's been lovely to see you and chat to you again, and to bring us some of your story to the viewers here. So thank you, and I hope that, and I wish you every success and wonderful thing for next year and beyond.
Thank you. Yeah, it was great to be able to catch up, but also just to chat and share a little bit of the behind the scenes of my little project. But yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.